Those who contemplate the beauty of the earth find reserves of strength that will endure as long as life lasts. Rachel Carson. I agree with the following quote because when our environment is preserved, we will prosper and become stronger for as long as we uphold our beliefs on environmental conservation. That reason is why I strongly affirm this year's resolution, resolve that mandated recycling in Utah is more desirable than incentive programs. I will now define the terms in this resolution. More desirable is to desire one thing more than you desire another. Mandated recycling is a required form of recycling. Incentive programs are programs that stimulate or has a tendency to stimulate determination or action. And incentives is something that motivates someone to do action. My value on the resolution is that of quality of life. Quality of life is defined as the condition of our living area and our lifestyles. When we have a mandated recycling program, our environment benefits from recycling and thus creates a better lifestyle for humanity. When the environment is not conserved, then humanity suffers greatly. Our criterion is environmental conservation. We need to conserve our environment in order to achieve a better quality of life. With the conservation of the environment, our quality of life increases when the environment is not polluted and no harms are evident towards us. Moving on to my case, contention 1, benefits of recycling. When we institute mandatory recycling, we help conserve the environment by not polluting it. We do not achieve a good quality of life if the environment is not a priority. Subpoint A. When the environment is a priority, humanity has a better quality of life. When the government initiates a mandated recycling program, its citizens prosper from having an environment that is clean from pollution. Alternately, when a mandated recycling program is established, our resources last much longer. When these are taken into effect, you can plainly see that mandated recycling is much more effective than incentive programs. Subpoint B. Tourism increases quality of life in Utah. Tourism is one of Utah's main sources of income. If we destroy the environment, there would be no tourism in the state of Utah, because tourists would not want to come to Utah if our environment is polluted. Moving on to my next contention, contention 2, communitarianism. Certain minimal rights must be sacrificed in order for the community to achieve greater benefits later on, such as a quality of life. Furthermore, a classic example of sacrificing minimal rights is taxes. Taxes requires people to pay money towards the government, and the government would use the tax money to create good for the people of the community. Contention 3. Incentive programs do not achieve a better quality of life. Subpoint A. The necessity of government intervention. The government should require everybody to recycle. We cannot change the environment with a few people who want to recycle under incentive programs. The only way we can change the environment is with mandated recycling. Subpoint B. The status quo is not working. One of our current incentive programs is the Utah Recycling Market Development Zone. As you can clearly see, it is not preserving the environment or giving humanity a better quality of life. The harms of pollution are evident now and clearly show that we do not have a better quality of life. I will now stand for points of cross-examination.
Alright, so how does tourism affect our quality of life directly?
Alright, if we do not conserve the environment, then for example, some certain places in Utah would be affected by the pollution. And since it is affected by the pollution, tourists would not want to come to Utah.
Alright, but wouldn't people coming to Utah be negative towards our environment?
How so?
Don't the tourists litter? Don't they use our resources, etc.?
However, if you post guards or certain fines if they pollute, such as in Yellowstone, then these acts of pollution toward the environment would be prevented.
Alright, fine, but then still, economically, are we really benefiting from tourism?
Actually, yes. I can give you a statistic. Earnings from tourists generated $4.1 billion in 1998.
Alright, but doesn't this generation now we also have to force our people to pay, have to mandate these recycling programs, don't we have to use that money?
I suppose. But $4.1 billion is actually a lot of money.
So is this $4.1 million all going to the people of Utah?
Mostly.
Alright. As to your benefits, why can't an incentive program provide such benefits as well?
My contention 3 stated that incentive programs do not achieve a better quality of life, and the status quo is not working.
Alright, thank you. I will be going AFNEG. Don't pollute me while you cleanse yourself. Because I believe in this quote by Kurama Hime, I stand in strong negation of the resolution. Resolve that mandated recycling programs in Utah are more desirable than incentive programs. I accept all affirmative definitions for this round. The negative presents the consolidated value criterion of governmental legitimacy. defined as the standards of a governing force that provides protection and maintenance of the rights of the people that reside within that force's boundaries. Thus, governmental legitimacy provides for the defense of people's rights in Utah for the negative, in contrast to the affirmative's violation of such rights for material gain. The link to the resolution is thus explicit, as if the resolution is achieved, rights are violated and the government has an obligation to protect these rights. Contention 1. A bright line may not be established. Subpoint A. The environment may not be achieved while sacrificing rights. If the environment is valued supremely over that of rights, then one by one all rights will disappear in a vain attempt to save the environment. And through this action, the environment may not be saved in absolute. Further, the government is required to protect these rights and may not ever value the environment over such anyways. Subpoint B. Rights over the environment. People always value rights over the environment, as the environment may only cultivate harms over time, whereas rights are an immediate concern. And without such, there is no community. Further, as the environment may not be achieved completely, this waste of rights serves no purpose. The link to governmental legitimacy is thus inherent. Contention 2. People do not like sacrificing rights. Subpoint A. People value their right to property. All people have a right of managing property as they choose, however, to do so. In mandated recycling, this violates this inherent right of all people. Therefore, mandated recycling is immoral, whereas incentive-based programs merely act to persuade people to recycle and manage their property accordingly. The government is obligated to protect these rights. Subpoint B. People value the right of choice. People will always value positive reactions to their actions, i.e. receiving rewards for their actions. In this case, money, over that of eliminating rights and forcing people to act. Thus, the desirability of incentive programs will always take precedence over mandated recycling programs. The link is explicit, as the government must protect these rights. Contention 3. The environment is still protected through incentive programs. Incentive programs do not sacrifice rights. Rather, all incentive programs go to induce positive actions. If a person recycles, they can get a reward, and thus will want to recycle anyway. We can still protect the environment, but we cannot sacrifice rights for it. The only difference is that mandated recycling can guarantee that all people will recycle, but at a far greater cost of rights. And governmental legitimacy is also established when using incentive programs. Moving on to the affirmative case. First of all, in its quality of life, he does not show why the incentive programs cannot achieve this. I will explain why they do as I move down the flow into his contention 3. Furthermore, I can adopt his value of quality of life because he is violating rights of the people and therefore their quality of life for my negative case. Furthermore, environmental conservation can be achieved by the negative, and I will show this as I move on to his contention 3. Of his contention 1 of benefits, I achieved this, and I will explain why later. As to his effects of tourism, fine, we can still get tourism, but he does not show why tourism will be destroyed if we do not recycle. Moving down to his communitarianism of taxes. Taxes and recycling are a completely different subject, and we cannot argue the efficacies of such. Moving down, on his contention 3, that incentives do achieve this. If I promise you $1,000 to recycle, you will recycle. I can guarantee you that we'll recycle more. And I stand open for questions of points of cross-examination.
All right. Isn't it true that the only rights being sacrificed is that of that being forced to recycle?
No, there are two separate rights that are being sacrificed here. Property and choice, as I show in my contention 2.
All right. Well, how would property be shown as violation of rights again?
Well, as we can see here, you have a right to your property. As to say, if I were to take your pants, your shirt from you, I would be violating your rights to property. This is basically what a mandated recycling program is doing. You're making me recycle. You're forcing me to do what you're forcing yourself to do what you would, you're not managing your property the way you would want to. If you want to throw it away, then you can throw it away. If you want to recycle it, then you can recycle it, etc.
But doesn't contention 2 states that certain minimal rights may be sacrificed for the community in order to achieve greater benefits?
All right. As to communitarianism, what you're saying is that because we pay taxes, because we have to do this, that inherently it's okay to do such things. But as we can see here, taxes do not violate the right to choice, the right to property, not of choice. And the thing is that taxes are beneficial to a community, whereas you cannot show that taxes are beneficial. Whereas you cannot show that recycling is beneficial.
All right, well, recycling conserves the environment more so, does it not?
Yes, but as the negative supports, the negative can support it equally well as incentive programs can manage recycling.
Alright, I will be going af neg. Alright, my opponent attacked my value, my criterion 1 and my contention 1 and contention 3 by stating that incentive programs also achieve solvency. However, as I've stated before, my contention 3 subpoint B, the current status quo does not work, and I have provided an example of an incentive program. Alright, my opponent's attack on my contention 2, that of communitarianism, how taxes are not related at all to recycling, is not true, due to the fact that taxes requires the people to pay money towards the government, and mandatory recycling requires people to pay money to recycle. Money is also a property of the people. However, people do not complain about paying taxes. Therefore, why would people start complaining about having to recycle or not? I would like the judge to carry over my contention 3 subpoint A. My opponent did not address this on how there's a necessity of government intervention needed to ensure mandated recycling. Alright, moving on to my opponent's case. My opponent's value was that of government legitimacy. If the government does not provide a clean environment for the people and does not provide for the people, then the government becomes illegitimate. So when the environment is preserved, then the government becomes legitimate. But opponent's contention 1 is that of bright line. There is some bright line on this case. My opponent's contention 2, I answered that with communitarianism. My opponent's contention 3 stated, alright, environment is still protected with incentives. Alright.
Alright, what we can see here is that he does not address my contention 3, that the environment is still protected, and he does not answer that the incentive program still provides solvency. He just says that it doesn't. Well, why? He doesn't show why, he doesn't address why, and thus he just makes this vague statement, this claim without a warrant, and it doesn't carry through. Thus my attacks all completely stand, and alright, moving on. As to governmental legitimacy, I said, when we cannot provide rights for the people, then we don't have a legitimate government in the first place. Quality of life and the environment come after our rights. He just says there's some bright line, but he doesn't show why there is. Moving on to my contention, for my contention 1. Moving on to my contention 2, that people don't like sacrificing rights. He says that communitarianism covers this. I will address it as I move down to the affirmative flow. As I have already shown, his overview upon my attacks all go away because they do not address, he just makes these claims without a warrant, and they don't carry through. They cannot show why, they cannot show how, and thus his defense falls on every single one of his points. I adopted his value of quality of life because I did that in my 1NC, and my attacks flow through on his value, his criterion. I can adopt his benefits, I said it before, communitarianism and taxes. Now to address this, he says that both of them provide benefits. Well, sure, but the people won't see that there are benefits to recycling, and they can't find those benefits. So therefore, they won't want to, because they have no reason to, because they're not shown why. As to his flowing through of governmental requirements, it doesn't have any effect on this round. Moving on to voting issues. I make my contention 3 a voting issue because he cannot show why incentive programs do not equally protect the environment, whereas he cannot provide why mandated programs do such a better job and why they can't address such harms. And please vote for the negative.
My opponent stated that his contention 3 never was addressed. However, my contention 3 subpoint B already answers this under the fact that the status quo does not work, and our status quo includes incentive recycling. Also, I would like to go over my voting issues. My first voting issue is that of communitarianism and how certain rights must be sacrificed for the community that are minimal. Alright, these minimal rights are that of recycling. My opponent makes rights a huge issue when it actually is not, and certain minimal rights must be sacrificed in order to achieve better quality of life later on. My opponent stated that people do not see benefits of recycling directly. It's obvious that the benefits of recycling include a better environment for the people because we extend our resources, etc., as I've stated in my contention 1 in benefits of recycling. Alright. Alright, and that will be all.